An elderly member of the BizNews community was recently scammed by a fake trading platform operating under the name FXSI, losing more than 24,000 Rand in the process. The scheme forms part of a growing wave of sophisticated online fraud, where scammers use AI-powered deepfake adverts to lure unsuspecting victims. In this case, the victim was drawn in by fabricated footage appearing to show Alec Hogg in a heated exchange with Cyril Ramaphosa on Carte Blanche, a clip that looked convincing but was entirely fake. Hogg unpacked the dangers of these manipulated videos in a recent episode of Boardroom Talk, warning that such scams are becoming increasingly difficult to detect. Joined with me now is another anonymous victim of a fake trading site called FXSI. Could you tell me what happened in your own words?
I watched a video, a so-called video, of Alec Hogg having a loud confrontation with Cyril Ramaphosa, which led me to think that I should invest something myself. So at the bottom of the video, I clicked a link and I got onto this site, FXSI, and I contacted them. And thereafter, I had many phone calls from different people asking me questions, and then they wanted all my details, my ID book, my proof of residence, I think my bank account, and my credit card, because I paid with a credit card. And once I'd completed all the forms, I got a call a few hours later from a man who said he was my account manager. I asked him where he was based, and he said in Zurich, and he had 13 years of experience, and that a lot of people make a lot of money, and how much money would I like to make? Would I like to make 100,000, 1 million, or 2 million, or whatever? And I said, well, I'd like to make as much as possible. Why not 2 million? Thinking that it would take some time. I didn't expect it to happen immediately. Anyway, I deposited 4,100 in my account, which he then phoned and told me what to do. Mainly, he made me buy foreign currencies, either pounds into euros or pounds into dollars. And then I told him that I'd like to invest in some gold, which we did. And everything looked hunky-dory. And a few days later, my account started to go down. And he then phoned me up and said that I had to have a margin of at least 70% to make any money. By which time I had a margin, I think, of 56%. So he said, I said, well, now I don't want to do this anymore. I want my money back. And he told me that if I wanted my money back, I'd have to deposit a further 25,000 Rand immediately. And I actually told him in no uncertain terms that I was not going to deposit a Rand or a cent more. And he kept on telling me, and he kept on phoning me that I must put this money in. Anyway, I continued to watch my account as it dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. And he started ringing me. And then I realized I must have been taken for a ride. And I refused to answer his phone calls. And then I wrote him a letter and said, thank you for nothing, you swine. And he tried to ring me back and to tell me that I was not right to swear at him. And I said to him, well, you've lost me all my money and I don't want to talk to you again. About a couple of days later, another phone number that I didn't recognize called, and I answered it. And the man said he was this account manager of mine called Leonardo De Santos. He was his manager. And how can I swear? Because I also used a couple of swear words at this man on the phone. And this manager man accused me of being rude and that I would expect legal action because I'd been so rude. And I said to him, I think you're a fraud and I think you're all bad people. And he kept on saying, we are legal. We've got all our financial papers and everything in order. And eventually I said, I'm not continuing with this conversation. And the last thing he said to me, well, enjoy legal action against you. And I put the phone down, and since then, this account manager's tried to phone me a few times, and I don't answer the call. And then, of course, I had written back in the interim to Alec Hogg, who put me in touch with this kind lady who's doing the interview and who told me it was indeed a fraud and that I wasn't the only person to be taken for a ride. So that's my story.
So let's take it back to the beginning. What platform did you see the ad on, and what exactly first caught your attention about it?
Well, it looked so legitimate. And I looked up their address, and I looked up online, and there was a lot about the company, what they do, and their business address, and all. It all looked so legitimate. So I was taken in, I'm afraid. I'm quite elderly, so I suppose I should have known better, but I didn't, and I'm now no longer going to believe most things I see online these days because I feel very bruised. I feel ashamed that I was taken for such a ride, and of course, I'm extremely angry that I've lost that money.
Was there a point where you felt it started becoming untrustworthy?
Yes, there was when they kept on me, when he insisted that I had to put 25,000 Rand more in to get my 24,000 back, which didn't make any sense to me. Because I kept saying to him, I want to shut the account and take out whatever money is left. And by this stage, every day it was getting worse and worse and worse. And he kept phoning me and telling me that if I wanted my money back and I wanted to close the account, I'd have to put in a further 25,000. He wouldn't listen to me. So that's when I decided there was something fishy, because I don't think legitimate people would go on and on and on and nag and nag and nag and nag for me to put a whole lot more money in after the. Now, I said to him, I'm not putting good money after bad. And yet he continued to phone me and actually was almost harass me so that I would put more money into my account.
And do you remember what exactly made you feel that it was a trustworthy site in the beginning?
I don't know, I suppose I read all and they said it was a legitimate site and they had all their. If you go onto the site, you can read all about them. It's a huge site they've got about them and where they are based and what they do. But I guess I should have been a bit suspicious when this account manager, I said to him, he had a foreign accent speaking English. I said to him, where do you live? And he said, in Zurich. I suppose maybe I should have been more aware that that was a bit odd, considering it was a South African company, so-called South African company, legitimately registered with everything in order in South Africa. So I suppose I should have seen the flag then, but I didn't.
These people are master manipulators at it. So I think the mistake you made has happened to so many people, and you can't necessarily beat yourself up about it. But was there anything else that seemed unusual at the time, or were you really convinced?
No, it really convinced me. And they were so efficient and phoning me up and telling me what to do and this and that and the next thing and telling me how much people had made. And oh, I know, then this account manager phoned me up at the beginning of the Straits of Hormuz closure and said to me, if you'd listened to me last Friday, this was on a Monday, he said to me, if you'd listened to me last Friday and put more money in, you could have made your money 3 times more than it was. But I kept on saying to him, I'm not putting any more money in. And after, as I say, after he harassed me, then I began to question it, which is then when I wrote to Alec Hogg, who kindly put me in touch with you the very next day after I had written to him.
So what was the timeline of it?
I
So what was
started on the 19th of April. And it took a few days to fill in the forms, and I think I deposited the first deposit of 4,001. I don't know why it had to be 4,100, but anyway, that's what I was told. And I think I did that on about the 24th or between the 24th and 26th of April.
And did this company claim to be South African?
Yes, it said they claim to be South African with a registered head office in Bryanston Drive in Johannesburg, I think. And but also another thing that I would warn people about is I had various calls from mostly men, as I was completing the process of setting up an account, that I could never ring them back on that number that they had rung me on, that I've got on my call list of my WhatsApp calls. And I should have realized then that there was something fishy, because I should have been able to get hold of them if they were legitimate. I could have got hold of them instantly on the phones, I thought. But it didn't ring a bell until I'd lost my first 4,100, and then he wanted 20,000, so I put in 20,000. So altogether, I've lost 24,100, and was kept being told that I had to put in another further 25 to get my 24 back, which I didn't quite understand. Because if you put 24,000 and then you put 25,000, you've spent virtually 50,000. So, I didn't want that. And then he did shout at me. He said, "I thought you told me you wanted to make 1 million or 2 million. I said, "I did. But I didn't expect it to happen overnight." So they are very, very crafty people, and they seem to be very well jacked up. And they know exactly what to say and how to say it to make you believe them.
If you could advise other South Africans or potential victims on how they could avoid this happening to them, what would you say?
Well, I would say look into it more. I mean, don't just believe the website. I don't know how you go about that, but I don't know if you must go to the company's office or somewhere. But it looked so legitimate that I didn't even think of needing to find out anymore. So be very, very, very wary. All South Africans out there, especially elderly ones like me, seem to be taken for a ride more easily.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm Kerry Lanigan for BizNews.com.